what we saw during COVID, the increase in anxiety and depression in the adult population was exponential. It just went up significantly, and it hasn't gone back down. So there's probably close to 60% of the adults in the workforce are struggling with either an anxiety disorder or a depressive disorder.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. Well, we have a very special guest for you today, and she is here to help businesses thrive in West Michigan. I want to welcome to the show Jo Baweja. I'm going to get that right, from Blank and Canvas Consulting, and she is going to share how she can help businesses thrive in our game-changing assignment, leadership coaching, and team-building services. So I want to welcome Jo to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Happy to be here, Pamela. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, I love having business coaches on the show, only because each one is unique.
Yep.
Each one taps into certain parts of businesses.
That's
and
true.
There's so many businesses out there, so many small businesses out there that kind of they're wearing many hats today.
Right, exactly.
And they don't know, maybe, okay, they've got to be out marketing, and then they've got to be out team building, and then they've got to be out with the products, and then we have to get to the customer.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right, I want you to share, Jo. I did say your name, but I want to share what you do, who you are, and I want you to kind of share why you got into this, because it is a tough market to go in and say, hey, I can help you thrive.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, my background, I'm a clinical and organizational psychologist. So with my business, I combine my clinical psychology skills and my organizational psychology skills. And my goal is to help businesses function more effectively by helping leaders lead more effectively and helping teams function more effectively. For me, the mic drop in my life is when I'm meeting with somebody individually and working on their personal or professional growth, and when they go, I never looked at it like that before. I know they're going to respond differently from that point forward, because once you have a perceptual change, the way you respond to things changes, and you'll never go back. And so I help people grow in their career and function more effectively, and then the business is more effective.
You've been in, like I said, business psychology, for a long time.
Yes.
And we hear that, and I knew people that were in that field, and I've always asked for their opinion on stuff.
Yep.
But I mean, can you share a little bit when you go to college, what does that mean? What does that job look like? It's working HR or what?
Yeah, well, I knew from the time I was in 7th grade that I was going to be a psychologist. I just have a natural knack for it. So I went to college to be a clinical psychologist, started my career in a hospital, worked on a psychiatric unit, and built an outpatient practice.
Okay.
So yeah,
You've dealt with many types of people.
Oh yes, absolutely. And then I discovered the world of employee assistance programs, which is a benefit where you provide your employees the opportunity to have counseling and therapy for free. And so I created and built a couple employee assistance programs in my career. And in that, I discovered how I liked coaching leaders and how to understand when employees were struggling, and how to understand how to deal more effectively with a struggling employee. So my career just meandered into that as I followed my passion and followed where I saw myself functioning most effectively naturally. It evolved into what it is now. So it was following my passion.
Well, and that once you realize you can bring out, I guess, with the leaders today in a business, right?
Yeah.
That you can help them tap in to their strengths, skills, maybe even look at their staff a little different. Just if you just critique your little, do you understand? And they can connect with their staff and like, okay, he or she really does care about me.
Right, exactly.
He or she, does want the best
Yeah.
Understands that I may be a mother and I'm working and I've got a lot of moving hats, or I'm a dad and I have a lot of moving. Do you understand when people understand? You probably get that.
Absolutely. People, we tend to assume that people communicate, that people speak the same language we do. We all speak English right here.
Yeah.
But your English and my English are different. When I'm silent, it means one thing. When you're silent, it means something else. But we assume the same things. So just helping people understand the meaning behind the way you communicate, how you communicate, and your work style. That just helps things happen more effectively. We stop assuming and we start interrelating. And when leaders invest in their employees, when they develop their employees, you buy their loyalty. They're more loyal to you as an organization and as a leader. When you say, I want to help you grow, and help you grow in your career, people love that and they thrive in that, and they're going to stick around. So it's a way to help people function more effectively and keep them around.
Well, don't you think, you've dealt with businesses and leaders, is that when you're looking at your employees, that each employee is at a different season of their life?
Yes.
I was, mother of 4, and when I was in the corporate world, I wanted to be out of the office. I didn't want to work, I wanted to be office by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I had to get home to a game or whatever. But it was only temporary, and it was only going to be for the next 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I was going to have more time, and then now I might want to take on more responsibility.
Right.
I might want to go for a promotion. But right now, I'm happy because this helps me do this.
Right.
Does that make sense
Yeah.
when you go into a business?
Yeah.
Do you see that with some people?
Yeah, and you're right. Everybody's at a different season, and I also think it's self-awareness. It's really understanding what your strengths are, and utilizing and playing to your strengths. And like I said to my kids when they went to college, and I say it to people that I do career coaching with, the first thing is, if you understand your passion, understand what you're passionate about, understand what makes you tick. When you look back on the last 6 months or year of your career and you say, when was I really hitting it? When was I really rocking it? What was I doing? Right. And I need to do more of that. So yeah.
Like time stands still. It's like you did something and it was 6 hours later and you realize, well, where did the time go?
Exactly.
You just don't concept. Oh wait, now I've been under leadership before, and I've been a leader. And when I became a leader, I don't know if you experienced that when you go into a company, you have new leaders. Maybe there's some people that just need some coaching, and I think that's the best thing you can get outside of the business.
Right.
Coming in, because I was always afraid that if I asked a bad question, I didn't know how to do something,
how it would reflect on you.
Do you see that?
Exactly. Oh yeah. If you have a coach outside your business, I always say, a coach is a good, objective, impartial listener. They don't have an agenda.
Right.
They don't have something that they want to accomplish other than being invested in your growth. And so establishing a relationship with a coach where then you can allow yourself to be vulnerable and say, I don't think I did that so well. I think I screwed that up. Well, let's try that again. And with everybody that I work with, that I coach, I start with a strong behavioral assessment, so I understand and they understand what makes them tick, what drives them, what are their needs. Your needs and your drivers create your behaviors, and when you're hitting on those cylinders, when my role meets my needs and hits the drives that I want, I'm going to be successful. And so what I really start with helping people understand themselves, and don't put yourself in a role that you're not going to be happy in, because you're going to fail.
Well, and and I have heard that from other leaders. There's certain you can promote to a certain level, excuse me, certain level to the point where you're just happy here,
right?
And then you're doing a great job. And I was kind of like that. I didn't want to be the top.
Not everybody. I
don't want that pressure.
No.
I didn't want to. I didn't. Not that somebody say, well, you could probably move up. I'm like, but I was very. Is that a bad thing?
No, and that's about self-awareness and understanding yourself.
Okay.
And I work with leaders a lot on, let's not just assume Pamela wants that promotion. Let's look at what the role is. Let's get to know her strengths and her passions, and then let's see if that's really going to be a good fit. A lot of times people are afraid to tell their boss, I don't want that promotion.
Yeah.
So they take it, and so it's really, let's step back and say what competencies do we need to be successful in that role, and then let's assure Pamela has those competencies. And if she doesn't, that's okay, you know.
Well, and we're all afraid of showing our weaknesses, afraid that we're going to get, you know, canned, or they're going to talk bad about us. You know, there's always that competition
Right.
when you're at a leadership level.
Right.
Everybody thinks it's all hunky-dory, and it really isn't. There is a underlining thing. But as a person that is out on a lot of organizations, and I get to the point where when people offer me something, now I can say, look, that's not my skill level.
Right.
That's not something I'd be comfortable
that comes-
worrying about throughout the day. I was just asked to be the secretary of something, of a committee I'm on, and I'm like, no, that's not my skill level. I like promoting. Everybody knows that about me. I said, I'm going to stick to what I know.
Right, exactly. That comes, I think it comes with confidence. It comes with self-confidence.
Right.
It comes with experience.
Right.
You know, there's nothing wrong with trying something and discovering this isn't my skill level. But yeah, I think it's about gaining self-awareness is key, and having the ability to do that.
Yeah, it is. It takes time, and sometimes it takes when you're seasoned and you're able to say that. But I think people wear too many hats today.
People
trying
do
to
wear
do
a lot
very
of
well.
hats. Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
What are
Yeah.
you seeing going into businesses, and let's talk about that a little bit, on when you're going in? What are they, you walk into, the leadership, CEO, CFO, whatever you have your meeting with, and they're trying to do what? What are they mostly looking for? What are they seeing today? I think people are really stressed out,
Yeah.
some of these areas, and then employees are stressed out, and they're trying to, like I tell people all the time, HR is huge today. Dealing
Yeah.
with HR because
Yeah.
of what we
Yeah.
see.
There's a lot of different issues there, a lot of ways to answer that question. One is, again, I have a mental health background. I'm a clinical psychologist, and what we saw during COVID, the increase in anxiety and depression in the adult population was exponential. It just went up significantly, and it hasn't gone back down. So there's probably close to 60% of the adults in the workforce are struggling with either an anxiety disorder or a depressive disorder.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Yep.
And it's not it hasn't gone down since
No,
COVID.
hasn't gone down
it's
since
just
COVID.
more going on.
And so it's really important for leaders to be aware of that, and then again to have benefits available to employees so they can access services for that. And then on the leadership development side, it's again because of COVID, of so many people exiting the workforce, and not as many to backfill. So we have a lot of brand new leaders, people who just are plopped into a leadership role,
I
who have
see that.
never led, and they're intimidated, they're scared, and those are the ones I love working with them because they soak it up like a sponge. They learn quickly, they advance quickly.
They just need a couple tools.
Yep.
Maybe one or two things to do.
Yep.
And once you've done that, then a couple more things.
Right. And again, that sounding board, somebody to go back to and say, okay, I'm trying this, I want to do this, and just somebody to have those conversations with, and have those moments of insight. When you have that moment of insight, when you go, aha, you're right, I never looked at it like that before, then they're off and running. It's cool to see. I feel honored and privileged to be a part of it with people.
Well, one thing I did recognize when I did get my leadership roles is that how different your prior you went from a room full of 5 or 6 employees, and all of a sudden you're in an office by yourself. And realizing that that's gone.
Oh yeah,
And that was hard
that loneliness
to deal
at the
with
top.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they didn't want, you're now part of them.
Right.
And
Yep.
I was just like, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you start self-sabotaging yourself. When do you see that?
Yeah.
I mean, you could see it. You probably see it more than what
I hear the term when leaders really talk to me and they allow themselves to get real, imposter syndrome.
Yes.
It's
There's
like,
the good word.
yep.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Am I really this? And then they go out there and they put on the posture and they do it. And it takes a coach kind of mirroring them and saying, look at what you're doing. I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday, and he told me this story. He said, I don't have any skills. I don't know why I'm in this president role. And then he told me this story, and I said, so you've just demonstrated diligence, perseverance, boundary setting.
Adaptability.
Adaptability and strategic thinking. And he started writing it all down. I have all that? Yes, you do. and he's in a president role, and he just didn't see it in himself.
A lot of people don't. You see that? I was guilty of that too. It's like, well, and I did a coaching thing similar to yourself years ago. I mean, we're talking, 10, 15 years ago. And what I had to do was I couldn't come up with a lot of positive skills because I couldn't think of them myself because I thought of everything I couldn't do.
Right.
So I sent it out to people that directed.
That's smart. That's really smart.
And they came back with amazing stuff, and I'm just looking at this going, look at this, this is what she said.
Yeah.
I kept looking at it, and I didn't, and they go, why don't you see yourself that way? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. We're all our own worst enemy. We're all really hard on ourselves. I find in my practice, because I do a lot of career coaching, kind of helping people maneuver, is this the role I want to be in, or do I want to do something different? Or I work with people who have been transitioned out of their role, or so they're in between jobs, and so I assist them in finding that next role. And trying to sell myself is something that people really struggle with, and women really have a hard time with it. Just selling themselves, patting themselves on the back. I can pat my friends on the back all day long, but myself, it's a different thing.
Well, because you can't say that in front of your friends.
Yeah.
You can't say, can't say it in front of your girlfriends. You have to say something. If you, let's just say you lose 10 pounds or whatever, you can't, you have to say something negative about it. But yeah, it's been really,
Right.
Yeah, and you have to say a negative thing with it.
Yeah.
And that's what's women. Why are we like that?
I will pick on people. If I pay you a compliment and you say, yeah, but I got this skirt on sale, I say, stop. Mm-hmm. Just say thank you. When somebody pays you a compliment, this is a good thing to practice. When somebody pays you a compliment, just say thank you. Because when they pay you a compliment and you go, yeah, it's old, it's like you took that compliment and you wadded it up and you threw it right back at them.
Well, exactly. And I didn't realize that too. And stop apologizing for everything.
Yeah.
Something happens and you just say, well, thank you, oh my gosh, you walk in a meeting, right? Instead of saying you're sorry every time you walk, say thank you for waiting.
Yeah.
And sit down.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then it starts the ball rolling, right?
Well, that demonstrates confidence too.
Yeah. And I've had to learn that too. Stop
Yeah.
apologizing.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's get to some of these good questions. Okay, so your tagline is lasting change with grace, dignity, and insight. What does that mean for us looking at that?
Yeah. So again, as a coach, helping people grow, the word grace has always been really important to me. Grace comes from within, giving myself grace, like we were just talking about, not being so hard on myself.
Right.
And dignity is, it doesn't have to be humiliating to grow. You can grow in a dignified, with dignity. And then insight, like I said, when I obtain insight, I've got that. I'm not going to go back to behaving that way about that thing.
Right.
So I love
more
to put
information, right?
Yep.
You learn different.
Yeah.
I got that one. Okay, talk about the career coaching and career evolution.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
Couple different things. So career coaching, as I said a couple of seconds ago, I have people that are currently gainfully employed, but they feel stuck. They feel like there's nowhere else for them to go in the organization, and they don't know how to position themselves, how to market themselves, how to identify who I am. And so I work with them with okay, what's your passion? What are you good at? And then how do we get you out in the world and selling yourself? And career evolution is a specified service that I have, and this is the piece of the service that's specifically for women. It's a cohort model group that's for women who are quote unquote old enough to retire,
right?
Have the means to retire, but psychologically can't get themselves there. So we bring them together in a cohort.
A big change.
Yeah. So we bring them together in a cohort over 90 days where these women work together, they support each other, and they make commitments to get themselves towards that next role. We don't use the word retirement. It's what are you evolving to? Maybe you're evolving into nonprofit work. Maybe you're evolving into volunteer work. Maybe you're evolving into buying a camper and touring the country. But it's leaving that pressure cooker corporate job and doing something different. You're evolving next. And men struggle with that too, but women struggle in a different way. So I put together this model to be specifically for women to address the issues that women have specifically in that evolution.
Interesting. I think it's a great way. I love the term.
Yeah.
How does your organization typically use the behavioral assessments, and why is that a good idea?
Yeah, so organizations use behavioral assessments for a couple ways. One is for hiring. when many times we hire people that we like, and we don't think about what are the competencies that we need, how do they fit in our culture.
They agree with us.
Yep. And so I work with companies to let's first put together what's the ideal candidate. If you're hiring a CFO, what are the ideal traits and competencies that the CFO needs? And then let's use good validated behavioral health assessments to assure that the CFO you're bringing in matches the competencies that you've identified. If you don't identify what you're looking for first, you're going to get it. If I go to the grocery store without a list, I come home with Doritos and wine.
Yeah, and not the butter that you're supposed to pick
exactly.
up, right?
So if I make the list, I come home with what I'm looking for. So helping organizations first find out, understand, and hone in on what they're looking for, and then use behavioral assessments to do that. The other way organizations use behavioral assessments is in helping teams function more effectively, helping people understand each other's work style, communication style, so in the interpersonal relationships within the organization.
Well, that's exactly. Working in the corporate world, most of the time it's getting along with people. And how do I thrive in my department?
Right.
Having to deal with Bob, who's having a bad day. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Julie, that doesn't like me.
Right. Or I'm assuming Julie doesn't like me because of the way she communicates. That's
true. And maybe if I changed a little bit, and
if I understood her and she understood me, and we learned how to communicate and meet each other's needs,
I would do so many things different than I did years ago.
Yeah.
I am telling you, I don't know why God gives us the wisdom at the end, like towards the end when
Right.
you need it so much.
in the beginning.
In
exactly.
the beginning, I don't know. Okay, talk about career experience led to the development. You got that one. And I want to make sure you had that one. And then, what is a behavioral assessment? What does that look like? You go in and we take a test, because I'm telling you, I had taken a test before,
Yep.
and I was terrified of that this was years ago, not like it is now, to better improve. But I thought they were out to get me. Like I was going to make a mistake, and they were going to say, okay, this person needs help, and we're going to be. I thought it was more.
No, they actually can't do that. And you know, when I started my career again on a psychiatric unit, I was trained in psychometric assessments that are very complicated and high tech. And then when I got into the business world and they have to be a little bit softer, I thought some of them were kind of lame until I discovered the tool that I use the most. It's the Predictive Index, and basically what it assesses how you function, how you communicate, how you make decisions, how sociable you are or are not. You know, my stepmother was applying for a job after she was laid off in 2001, and she said they made me take this personality test and they didn't hire me, so I think I failed the personality test.
I felt the same.
Yes, I said
felt
no.
they were out to get me
you
too.
don't fail everybody has a personality, so it's are you a good fit for the role? Are you a good fit for the role? Organizations cannot not hire you simply based on the assessment. It's one piece of data. It's just one piece of data going towards it.
Well, I meant all the leaders in my organization I was in had to take it, and I was a little nervous because I thought, they're gonna find, really, not everybody wants to know what makes you tick, even though you say sometimes you do, but it's like, I want something. I don't want them to know that they can get to Pamela by doing this.
Yeah.
This is my target. I can get her upset if I say this.
Yeah. No,
and
that's really not how it's really the flip of that. It's how do I understand when I'm miscommunicating with her? How do I understand when I'm miscommunicating with her? How does she need to be communicated with in a way that I can be effective?
Well, I see that now.
Yeah.
But when I first saw it, I was like, and then now I realize I'm a people person. I'm a communicator. I don't like lots of emails. I want to sit and I want to talk to
Right.
Mary Jo at the water cooler.
Yes.
And say, you got a few minutes? Can we talk? And there's people down the hall. It's like, just put it in an email so we can have it recorded.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, those are different. Some people, our batteries are charged by interacting with people face to face. Other people, their batteries are charged by not interacting with people. Interacting with people drains them. It's just a different way of being wired.
Yeah. Well, we can always count on, for instance, I'm just using that, Julie. Well, she has a record of it on her.
Right, exactly. And that's what you learn how teams balance each other out. Sometimes we need that quiet problem solver in the team.
I know.
Yeah.
We do. You always need a secretary. You need an accountant.
Yep.
You need all of that. But you know, if you want to know if Pamela knows the kid, Mary Jo's kid's name, ask Pamela. Where do they go to college?
Right.
Where do they?
Yeah.
You know, what was the last vacation? I'll tell you. You know, because I know.
Right.
So we can decide what's valuable that is.
Yeah, and it varies depending on.
I'm important too to have that information,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So I want to finish up with a question is, you know, if we were looking out to West Michigan, you know, what would you like to bring to the household or to the small business, right? Small business, what would you like your services to achieve for them if they would give you a call and say, you know what, we're stuck.
Yeah.
We're stuck. We want better communication. We realize that there's a problem, but we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
To help. So we don't have the answer.
Right.
We've tried everything.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, I'm the most gratified when people say, I understand myself better and I understand my people better and we're functioning together more effectively.
Yeah. Because, you know, everybody, you know, retaining employees today is very important.
Yep.
People are, and everybody's like, oh, I went through all this training, I did it, you know, a year, and then he or she leaves me.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I understand reasons why some people leave, but then other reasons, like, well, he or she would have just came to me, I could have gave her maybe a little bit more matched.
Right,
that
exactly.
what she was getting, because I didn't want to, I like her, I wanted her to stay, or he.
And I think it's a two-way street. I think leaders need to be responsible for, especially early on when you're onboarding somebody in the first 90 days to 6 months, to really be in tune with them and see how they're doing, how they're feeling. Again, if you know what the competencies are needed in that role and you see where that person's a mismatch or a match, you got to coach towards that, or you can adjust the job towards that. So it's a mutual responsibility for sure. At the end of the day, people don't leave organizations, they leave leaders.
I know. I used to hear that a lot when my employee, I used to say, okay. But you know, okay, most leaders too, you know, they like to have somebody, you come in, because, you know, sometimes they just want to get permission to say, okay, that's that. I would be thinking the same thing. Oh, I would be going the same way. This is how you might better do it. I mean, because, you know, we don't know if we're always doing right.
Yeah, I just worked with an organization where the COO had been very, very frustrated for a long time. So I did some coaching with a leadership team of 3 people, the CEO, the COO, and the Chief Marketing Officer. And with the behavioral assessment, it was clear the COO was not wired to be a COO. And so with a little bit of coaching, I was able to get him to say, you know, you're right, this isn't a good fit for me. So everybody was happy. They didn't have to fire him for poor performance.
And they just moved him to a different position and then brought it in?
He self-selected to resign.
Okay.
And he was very, very happy with that, because it wasn't a big enough organization where there was another place to move him, or they would have.
Oh, okay.
If there would have been another place to move him, he would have been fabulous, but there wasn't.
Well, you know that dread when you come in every day knowing that it's not something you want to do, but you know you have to perform here and here and at this level.
If you're a poor fit, it's like lava. It's gonna spread everywhere. And so I just had this conversation with somebody this week. It's not that person failed at the job. The company failed them by not attending to what was going on.
Yeah, that's what they say. You know, when you're at the leadership, you're always looking at them, you're just like, me?
Yeah.
You're me?
Yeah, leadership sets the culture of the organization.
That is for sure. All right, Mary Jo, I want you to share with West Michigan, how can they reach you, and anything else that you might want to add in that, so that they're better to know when they see your blank canvas consulting, they're going to give you a call.
Exactly. So you can reach me at maryjo@blankcanvasmi.com. That's simple, maryjo@blankcanvasmi.com.
That's it?
Yep.
All right, for more information. But I want to thank Mary Jo for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
All right, this is Pamela Keim from Grand Tap Media. We will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.